Hey guys, today's topic of the video is going to be about Robert Frost's important poem Mending Walls. In this topic we will be covering about the introduction, summary, the text of this poem, major themes, and what is this mending wall and what is this wall exactly, what this wall exactly is, analysis of the poem and style and literary devices of this poem. But before starting, I will suggest you to subscribe to my channel so that you can get all my literature related videos. Also follow me on Instagram, the link will be given in the description below. And also watch the biography of Robert Frost, his poems dropping by word, and the road not taken is uploaded on my channel. The links will be given in the description below. So starting with the introduction of this poem. This poem is written by a very famous and important American poet of the 20th century, Robert Frost. It was originally published in 1914, before World War I. It was published in his poetry collection, North of Boston, in 1915. The poem is set in rural England. Moving towards the summary of the poem, there is some kind of force which is not liking the wall between the poet and his neighbor. It is neither hunters nor the other supernatural creatures. This wall is not even created to prevent some wild animals from crossing the other's garden. Both the poet and the neighbor keep on mending this wall. And because they think that good fences makes good neighborhood. This is the text of this poem. It is of 54 lines and it is very simply written in everyday language and you can understand it. So moving towards the analysis of this poem, starting with line 1 to 11. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that stand the frozen ground-swell under it and spill the upper boulders in the sun and makes gap even to cans pass abreast. The work of hunter is another thing. I have come across them and made repair. Where they have left no one stone on a stone. But they would have the rabbit out of hiding to please the yelping dog. The gaps, I mean, no one has seen them made or heard them made. But at spring mending time, we find them there. Explanation: there is some kind of force which doesn't like the wall between you and me, between the poet himself and his neighbor. This force causes the ground frozen and swollen under this wall and the upper stone of this wall start falling. And these fallings cause gaps which make two people pass alongside. Hunters have not done that because the poet comes to repair it whenever the hunters leave its stone misplaced. These hunters take these stones off to help their dogs to find rabbits who are hiding in the holes. No one has ever seen or heard of these gaps during making. When the stone was falling, no one have ever seen or heard this all. The spring season is its mending time, but the gaps are still found there. Line 12 to 24. I let my neighbor know beyond the hill, and on a day we met to walk the line and set the wall between us once again. We keep the wall between us. We go to each the boulders that have fallen to each, and some are loaves and some are nearly balls. We have to use a spell to make them balance. Stay where you are until your back are turned. We wear our fingers though rough with handling them, or just another kind of outdoor game. One on a side it comes a little more. There where is we do not need the wall. He is all pine and I am all orchard. Explanation: the poet lets his neighbor know who is living beyond the hill, and that day when they meet at the wall, they repair it. They repair the wall once again out of these fallen stones, and they let the wall stand between them. These stones are of different sizes and shapes. Some are like loaves of bread, and some are like round balls. Both of them put these stones at a place and spell to keep them in balance. They ask these stones not to fall until they are gone. Their hands become rough holding these stones again and again, but it is holding more, but it is nothing more than an outdoor activity for them, and each of them is doing it on his own side. There is no need for the wall at all, because on his neighbor's side there are pine trees, whereas there is an apple orchard on his side. So there is no danger of wild animals and other things. There are just trees. Trees are not gonna eat each other. Line 25 to 34. um, my apple tree will never get across and eat the cone under his spine, I tell him. He only says good fences make good neighbors. Spring is the mischief in me, and I wonder if I could put a notion in his head. Why do they make good neighbors, isn't it? Where there are cows, but here there are no cows. Before I built a wall, I would ask to know what I was walling in or walling out, and to whom I was like to give offense. Explanation of line 34 to 30, 25 to 34. Um, the poet tells his neighbor that his apple trees will not cross the border to eat his pine cones. But his neighbor replies with that good fences and boundaries make good neighborhood. There is a need for this wall. His neighbor believes so, but not the poem. It doesn't seem that the poet like this wall. In spring, the poet asks his neighbor about the reason for the wall. He asks his neighbor if the wall will keep the cows away, but there are no cows. So there is no need for a wall since there are no cows. Before building this wall, the poet would like to ask, what will this wall bring together, and what will this wall put apart, and to whom this wall will be an offense. Moving towards last lines, line 35 to 45, these 10 lines. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that wants it down, I could say, elves to them, but it's not elves exactly, and I would rather he said it for himself. I see him there, bringing a stone grasped firmly by the top in each hand like an old stone savage armed. He moves in the darkness as it seemed to me, not of words only and the shades of tree. He will go to behind his father's saying, and he likes having thought of it so well. He says again, good fences make good neighbors. Explanation of these lines, these last lines, there is a repetition. There is something which doesn't love this wall to stay, and these things want this wall down. There's something supernatural or natural let's talk about this. The poet says that he thinks that these might be elves who do not want to stay on this world stand, who do not want this world to stay. But it would not be elves, and he invites his neighbors to figure it out, what it is exactly. Like an ancient savage, the poet sees his neighbor picking the stones and stacking them on wall. The poet can see his neighbors walking in the darkness, this darkness is not the shade of birds and trees. This is actually the darkness and ignorance inside the neighbor, because he will never do anything against his father's saying. He loves to think like his father, and says that good fences make uh, good neighborhood. He doesn't think more than that. He is orthodox in thinking, so that what is his father saying, he's conventional. All right, and the poet says that it is his ignorance. Moving towards some major themes: self-imposed barriers in human relations, neighborhood, importance of friendship, barriers and walls, separation and isolation or privacy, protection, not intervention, avoiding intervention, convention, believing on what his father says, what his or her father says, and taking this throughout your life. What has your father or your mother said, what your ancestors said, and ignorance. Moving towards the style and devices in this poem. The poem is discussing that making and breaking a wall or boundaries between two neighbors. The tone of this poem is sad and curious, and it also gives indication that the poet himself does not like the wall. He doesn't think that the wall is necessary. The poem is written in blank verse. There is use of symbols like good fences make good neighbors. Like these fences are barriers to protect private property or homes or lives in modern cities. Simile is used when the poet says, in each hand like an old savage armed. Like, use of like is simile. Alliteration of th sound, alliteration of h sound, alliteration of w sound, and alliteration of b sound. There are also consonant assonances in this poem, but I have picked some important alliterations. You can see these are mentioned there. Use of imagery: he moves in darkness as it seems to me. He moves in the darkness. The poet has written this line, has written this verse. He moves in darkness, and it as it seems to me, and it picturizes the whole image when his neighbor used to walk in the darkness, and it was not darkness in surrounding, it was darkness is of his ignorance, of his conventionalism. What is this wall all about? The wall is used in this poem to symbolize the psychological, physical or figurative barriers. This wall separates the neighbor's property from the poet's. The poet himself does not think that the wall is necessary, but his neighbor wants it because his father used to say that good fences make good neighbors, because no one would interrupt or interfere in the other's business and property, and everyone would live happily. This is the rule of lives in modern times. Thanks for watching. I hope you like or dislike this video. Also comment in the comment box for further inquiry, and also subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram. Link will be given in the description below. Thank you.